Joining me now is the Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington, and it's great to have you here, sir. You're the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, and you weighed in a lot on this war that's been playing out for the last 2 years. Obviously, the president sounded incredibly hopeful in his address here to the Knesset earlier about this actually being the real end of the war in Gaza, something we have not yet heard from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. But when you see those emotional scenes, the reunions of these hostages with their loved ones, I've certainly heard from a lot of hostage families who give President Trump credit for this moment happening. Do you give him credit for this?
Oh, certainly. I mean, this is an incredible accomplishment, an incredible moment. I mean, the hostages returned. You saw the pictures. I mean, the relief for the families is amazing. But second, the final end of the war in Gaza, and the suffering in Gaza has been enormous over the course of 2 years. Now, there are miles to go on a whole host of different issues that we're going to need to work on that you've been covering this morning. But you have to look at the moment and say just ending the war and getting the hostages home is an incredible accomplishment. It was a long time coming, to be sure, but certainly the president dove in and was engaged on this issue in a way that right now truly did make a difference.
What were your takeaways as you listened to his speech? It was over an hour to the Israeli parliament earlier, including a call for the Israeli president to pardon Prime Minister Netanyahu, who's facing a corruption trial and charges there. What stood out to you from his remarks?
Well, I mean, what stands out to me about the whole thing is what comes next. And that's sort of the two parts of the story. I mean, the first thing is what you said and showed about, just the relief, ending the war, getting the hostages home. But what comes next will quickly become equally important. Does this get to a lasting peace? And the key to that is having an alternative to Hamas in Gaza, having the Israeli government be willing to support that alternative, and also I think making sure that the United States and Donald Trump stay engaged. This is a great moment. We need to build on it and get to a lasting peace, and that's going to take a lot of work. And I hope we remain committed to that process, and that Prime Minister Netanyahu works with Palestinian alternatives to Hamas. And then lastly, the Arab states are going to be so crucial in this. Do they put the money and support necessary to help rebuild Gaza and give Palestinians a future? And that's the dominant thing for me as I listen to that speech, is thinking about what comes next and will this last?
Yeah, we're going to be watching. I mean, that is the question on everyone's mind, I think. And they're cautiously optimistic and hopeful, but also, have seen what's happened in the Middle East in the decades past. And I do wonder, going into what we're about to watch, with the president landing in Egypt in about 20 minutes from now for this signing ceremony, he actually got on the phone with President Sisi, who has not had a call with Prime Minister Netanyahu in quite some time, in years. Had Sisi invite Netanyahu to this summit. Initially, what we were hearing from Israeli officials, from White House officials, from Egyptians, sounded like Netanyahu might go to that summit, and then the Prime Minister's office said no, he wasn't going to go. Do you believe that's a missed opportunity for him not to go to the summit in Egypt?
Well, I think what's important is there's relationships that have to be repaired. And I've spoken to the leaders I've spoken to King Abdullah, MBS in Saudi Arabia, the leaders in Egypt. There is a deep well of bitterness towards Prime Minister Netanyahu and the way he handled this over the course of the last 2 years. Because in the opinions of many, this peace should have come a long time ago, and there should have been less suffering in Gaza. And most of the leaders in the Middle East placed the blame for that not happening squarely on Prime Minister Netanyahu. So is he going to be able to repair those relationships to get to that future in Gaza and future for Israel? If Israel wants peace, the Palestinian people are going to have a future and some form of stable government they can call their own. And Netanyahu really damaged a lot of relationships with his Arab partners over the course of the last 2 years. Now, I think it would have been a lot to ask right now, mere days after the ceasefire agreement, for those Arab leaders to just embrace Netanyahu in a summit in Egypt. Yeah, it would have been good if that could have been accomplished, but highly unrealistic. So what's going to happen going forward? is Prime Minister Netanyahu going to repair those relationships and show his Arab partners that he's committed to peace for the Palestinians, and not just in Gaza, by the way, but in the West Bank as well?
Yeah, we'll all obviously be watching that closely as we're watching those Palestinian prisoners and detainees return home as well. Congressman Adam Smith, always grateful for your time. Thank you for joining us. And we'll be right back right after this.